Hello my friends, whilst everybody is talking about newly released Panasonic G85s, my Panasonic G9 has finally arrived, and in this video I would like to share my initial impressions of this camera after the first day of shooting, and in a couple of days I will make a full review of this camera. As you probably know, the G9 is Panasonic's new flagship camera oriented towards still shooters, but at the same time it has impressive video capabilities like 4K 60p. It is mainly designed as a professional wildlife camera. I intend to use it as an all-round camera, and one of the main reasons why I bought the G9 is the handling. G9 is by no means a small camera. Even by DSLR standards, it is a medium-sized camera. It is still a bit smaller than Canon 80D or Nikon D7500 for example. By Micro Four Thirds standards, it is a very big camera, roughly as big as Panasonic G85. But the handling of this camera, in my opinion, is basically perfect. The grip is very deep. I can exactly fit all three fingers on the grip. The placement of controls is great. Everything is where I want it to be. The feel of the dials and button is great as well. The shutter button is similar to flagship cameras like Nikon D5. There is no distinctive click that would let you know that the shutter is half pressed, and it fires the shots pretty easily. If you use back button focusing, which you probably do or should do if you bought this camera, it will not be a problem. The shutter itself is extremely soft, and I personally do like this shutter. There is a ton of customizable buttons on G9, and you can set basically anything on any button, including autofocus on or video recording for example. The mode dial is moved to the left side because on the right side there is a settings display. It shows useful information, but I will have to spend more time shooting with this camera to see whether that is something that I need or want on this camera. And on the front side there is a very handful 2-position lever. Also, the ports are where they should be, including dual SD card slot, full-size HDMI, USB 3.0 that can be used to charge the camera even with USB 2.0 cable. The mic jack doesn't block the fully articulating 3-inch touchscreen. There is also headphone jack out, remote control port, and even PC sync port. Overall, in terms of handling, so far I am very impressed. Another thing that I was very impressed by is the viewfinder. It is really huge. You have the V mode button to make it smaller if you want. The resolution is incredible, and you can choose between 60 and 120 Hz refresh rate, so it is very smooth as well. Coming from G85, I have also noticed that there are some functionality upgrades. Unlike on G85, you can use the auto ISO in manual movie mode, or you can start recording video by pressing the shutter button in movie mode for example. The in-body image stabilization in G9 provides 6.5 stops of stabilization, so together with Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II, it is the best in-body image stabilization on the market, and I can definitely say that it is really good. You can shoot at well above 1 second shutter speeds and get sharp images. In the video it is great as well. It is basically the closest that you can get to the gimbal performance. Things that I am the most curious about with this camera are the continuous autofocus in both stills and video, and the ISO performance. So far I can definitely say that it is a big improvement over G85. The depth of defocus technology works much better here. It is definitely much faster and more reliable, but the biggest difference is that the hunting typical for contrast autofocus systems, where the autofocus has to go back and forth a bit, is almost gone. Video autofocus in G9 looks much more natural. I can already say that it won't be quite as good as Sony A6500 or Canon 80D, but it could actually be good enough to live with in most situations, and I will make a separate video about video autofocus on this camera. Regarding the ISO performance, it also looks promising. You are definitely not going to use ISO 10000 on G9 regularly, but up to ISO 3200 it will be perfectly usable for any publishing on the internet. ISO 6400 is more like in case of emergency, but here I was pragmatic when I was decided whether I should buy the G9. I looked at my Lightroom catalog and I found out that the percentage of my shots above ISO 3200 is negligible, and the 20.3 megapixel sensor in G9 actually seems to be pretty close to 24 megapixel APS-C sensor in Sony A6500, for example. So the high ISO performance should be sufficient for me, but I will also make a video specifically about the sensor in this camera. I was also very positively surprised by the dynamic range and color depth of this sensor. I was able to push the RAW files very far, and I will also take a closer look at that in the full review. G9 also has one more trick up its sleeve when it comes to image quality, and that is the high resolution mode, where it can shoot 80 megapixel stills of non-moving scenes when mounted on tripod. I've briefly tested it, and needless to say, I was very impressed again, because that high resolution mode makes a huge difference for landscape shooting. As you can see, I have bought a G9 with Leica 12 to 60mm f2.8-4 lens. I will also make a video about that, and I should get a free battery grip soon since I've pre-ordered the camera, so plenty of videos about G9 will be coming soon. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions for what I should test on this camera, please write me in the comments. As you can probably tell, so far I like my new G9 a lot, and I am really looking forward to shooting with this camera and making videos about it. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.